Hello, everyone. This is Daniel, and today I'm going to be recording a long-awaited video that I've been planning to make for a long time. And the background surrounding this video is that over the course of the last couple of months, I've played hundreds of bullet games, that is, 1-minute games, against one relatively unknown player, Magnus Carlsen, on lichess.org. And I think there's been a lot of downtime with Corona. So Magnus has come on to lichess, and he's established total domination over both the blitz and bullet pools. And I've had the honor and privilege of playing a couple very, very long matches against Magnus. And, these matches will last well over 100 games. And we'll go back and forth. Of course, Magnus has a hefty plus score. In a later video, I'll actually look up what our score is. But I've also had the pleasure of, playing a couple of very, very interesting games against him and displaying a couple of very interesting combinations. And today, I'd like to show you guys the finale of one of our bullet games in which I managed to play what I think is perhaps my most beautiful sequence of moves. That is a combination I've ever played in a bullet game, and definitely the nicest thing that I managed to do against Magnus. Now, the position in front of you occurred in a match that we played on May 4th of this year. I had the black pieces. I go by Rebecca Harris. And Magnus, who goes by Dr. Nichterstein, has the white pieces. And on the notation panel, you're welcome to play through the game if you'd like to see how this position was reached. Now, it's clear from the position that white is going this way, so white is threatening to promote his pawn. And a quick look at the position may reveal that it might be time for me to resign. Because although I have two passed pawns of my own, they're not close to promotion, and they're being blockaded by white's king. For example, if I give a check, and then Magnus goes king to b2, well, there's nothing I can do to stop this pawn from promoting and becoming a new queen. For example, I just move my bishop, he promotes, and the game is over. Now, the same goes for a move like b2. He just promotes his queen, and once again, there's no way I can push my own pawns to promotion. And it was at this point, with approximately 10-15 seconds on the clock, that I discovered a very, very interesting idea. And the idea starts with a very unassuming looking move, king c3. What am I doing? I'm allowing him to promote his pawn. It appears that I'm not really achieving anything, but I had cooked up a devilish scheme. Now, Magnus, he also has, 10-15 seconds. I don't remember the exact timestamp. Immediately promotes to a queen. And at this point, I would encourage you to pause the video and try to relive the suspense. Put yourself in my shoes. Give yourself a couple minutes on the clock. Try to come up with anything, something that I can do here. And there is something that I can do here. Now, the combination starts with the move a2 check, which is reasonable enough. But Magnus had foreseen this. He plays king to a1. No problem. It appears that black is at a complete standstill. Now, of course, he doesn't go the other way because I'd simply promote to a queen, and this is checkmate. But now, I play the move b2 check. Again, this is not checkmate. Magnus simply captures one of my passed pawns, and again, it seems that resignation may be a viable option here. But the checking continues, and I give another check with my bishop b3 check. And all of a sudden, I think at this point, it dawned on Magnus that something was amiss. Now, the king has two retreat squares. The move king b1 is punished rather mundanely. I still think this is cool because white is a whole queen to the good, and yet this queen is totally immobile. It's not participating in the action. So I give this check. Now, notice how the bishop is controlling the promotion square. I promote to a queen with check, king to a3, and queen a1 mate. Now, as a general rule of thumb for the more advanced players among you, when you're calculating pawn races in the endgame, the player who promotes first or the player who promotes with check oftentimes has a huge, huge advantage. So, this check, this power of the move, gives you everything that you need. So, to come back to the critical position, the king cannot return to b1 for that reason. Now, from a distance when he was promoting, Magnus had calculated this line, and he'd seen king a3. And this indeed is what happened in the game. So I'm just going to promote this variation. This position occurred. And if you had been calculating this, perhaps you thought that black can promote to a queen, which would be a very reasonable move. But you have to realize that number one, white is up 4 pawns. Number two, if you notice this x-ray that the knight is creating, queen is creating against black's king, that is, white can do what's called a discovered check. Knight f3 check. And not only is white 4 pawns up, but he's also winning more material. For example, if the king drops back, well, then white can simply pick off black's queen via a fork. And, this is essentially over. The win is a matter of just mopping things up here. But if you look at white's king very, very closely, it turns out that it actually has no squares. The bishop is controlling these squares. The king is controlling these squares. So if only there was a way to give a check to this king, well, this would be checkmate. And already at this point, drum roll, please, I assume that you're seeing the move, which is not queen. And this move is so rare that it literally, this program that I'm using, ChessBase, I have to type the move in. It is b1 equals knight checkmate. Now let's unpack this for a second. This is called an under promotion. Now when you promote, you can make a queen, a bishop, a knight, or a rook. And situations where you would need to make something other than a queen, that is something I want to probe in future videos because it's just fascinating. But in real games, it's tremendously rare. And here I had the pleasure of delivering this checkmate by promoting to a knight. The king has no retreat squares, as you can see, and the knight and the bishop are all that is required, working in harmony, in concert, to deliver the mate. So very quickly, to recap this combination. After the move h7, I go king c3, setting this all up, bringing the b2 square under control. Magnus promotes, a2 check, b2 check, bishop b3 check, and now the coup d'etat, b1 equals knight checkmate. Now it turns out that Magnus actually could have won the game after king c3. In this position, Magnus had a devilish resource that would have actually enabled him to prevent this combination and win the game. Now I'll make this interesting for you guys. I won't reveal what it is until a future video. And I'll be doing a lot of videos on segments, instructive and interesting segments from my games with Magnus. Some that I won, some that I lost. And I'll be revealing the solution to the previous video's riddle in that video. But for now, I'd encourage you to discuss in the comments section what you think Magnus can do in this position to prevent this combination from happening. So looking back, it was a very, very satisfying moment. I'm, of course, once again, incredibly honored and privileged to have the chance to play Magnus. Let the record reflect that he usually thrashes me. So this is an anomaly, but I will just flip to the final position. Let me remove some of these declutter. Let me remove some of these arrows just so you guys can see the mate in its pure form. b1 equals knight checkmate. So this was probably my nicest combination against the world champion, Magnus Carlsen. So I hope that you enjoyed this little tidbit. I once again will be doing a lot more videos on my interesting games against Magnus. Some will be more deeply analyzed. So I hope that you've enjoyed this little exposition, and I'll be uploading more videos on my lessons with Charlie and on more game segments and more instructional videos. All of that is coming your way very soon. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to hear from you in the comments section. Thank you.